If you have corrections, you should make a motion to approve the minutes with conditions, and then we discuss.
All right, go right ahead.
Oh, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the draft minutes of 4/5/21 with committee member corrections.
I'll support that. I'd like to make a correction on the under commission member comments / board member comments. At the end, the last sentence says the master plan is far. It should say fair, right toward the end of that sentence.
Board member comments. Okay, and we're looking at master plan.
Look all the way to the end. Before the comma there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good catch.
And then if you back up a little bit, it says David Gordon agreed with Ms. Dolans that the Chestnut development defies the master plan. It's kind of strong. I would just say it fails to conform with the master plan. And actually, I said that I reconsidered my original idea that the LPC should weigh in on the rezoning project, as opposed to considered that the LPC should make a formal recommendation. I thought that I had said almost exactly the opposite at that point, that I had originally thought we should, but that I had changed my mind. And
so would you be comfortable with has considered that the LPC should make a formal statement on the rezoning, but never brought it to the committee? Because we never discussed that as a group.
I guess if you change has to had considered.
Okay.
But then reconsidered or put something like that.
Okay.
Because I really did, after talking independently with a couple of you and talking it over with my wife, thought that maybe it probably wouldn't be a good idea. And those are the only changes I wanted to make to the minutes. Otherwise, excellent.
I had a typo correction that I already highlighted, but wanted to bring it up because it isn't what you received. On page 1, second column under approval of the minutes, I omitted the word minutes. It said motion by Gordon, support by Prizgint to approve draft of 3/1/2021 with Zelenock's wording change, but I didn't include the word minutes, so I added the word minutes there.
Good catch. Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. On to the agenda items. Number 1, Spring Wildflower Hike, scheduled for May 22. Who would like to take the lead here?
I can if you want, or Christina or Tallulah. But okay, why don't we just sort of start wherever we start? I have been in touch with Sean Severance, and she is going to do a preliminary walk herself to look it all over, and any of us can go with her. But she hasn't picked a date yet, so I can't report on that. I don't know. But when she does pick a date, then I'll certainly let you all know. And I can go. I'm blissfully retired, so just about any time she chooses, I can go. But I have no idea, about it, what day or what time or anything. And I don't know if we have any, play in asking her for a better time or something like that. So that's one thing I wanted to report. And also, I wanted to report, I looked a couple of days ago at the attendance. So the people who've registered. Has anybody looked at it today or really?
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, what does it say?
We have, it's 18 people. I'm trying to get to, keep talking. Let me get to the right.
Yeah, it looked to me like there was still a little bit of space in the morning hike, and 5 people had registered for the afternoon. Nobody had registered for the middle of the day ones.
I think that's changed.
Okay.
They give you all this information, so we have where people are coming from. 5 people from Pinckney, 5 people from Clio.
What?
3 people from Hastings, 2 Ithaca, 2 Birmingham, 1 Ann Arbor.
That's crazy. I don't understand.
That doesn't seem right.
No,
Does it?
right at all.
Let me see if I can. Sorry, I don't look at this all that often. Keep talking. I'll try to find like the numbers for each hike. I had it a minute ago.
It seemed to me that we needed to do a new round of publicity, that we need to do, if we do have quite a few spaces available, that we should probably do another Facebook post or do whatever we can do to bump it up, whether you share it or whether you, Marissa, whether you post it again so it shows up in general in Northfield area news and anything else that we
I sent it to David Fair at WEMU, and I can re-email him, because I think if we could get an interview on WEMU, or at least some mention of it, that would be good. And I posted it on the calendar on the station up in Howell. They have an event calendar.
Right.
But I think, Marissa, if you can do some social media postings, that would really help us. Although right now I'm looking at tickets sold, 8 of 10 for the 10 o'clock, 8 of 10 5 of 15 for the noon.
Oh, good.
And 5 of 10 for the 2 o'clock. So we've got 18 of 35 tickets sold. And I had a friend tonight tell me she'd like to sign up. So I know I'll put her name in there too. So I'll add one more. So we're about halfway there.
Yeah. And then David, you sent out the info about the Observer, the online Observer calendar. So,
Right. I kind of dropped the ball on that because we should have gotten that into them by the 10th of last month in order to get something for this month in their print edition. But the woman in charge said that if we get something to her, she will put it into their online edition.
Right.
So I sent that along to the 3 of you on the subcommittee today. So.
Who's going to do that? Who wants to do that? I mean, I can if you want.
I just haven't had much time.
May I interject for just a moment? I would love to do, I actually have on my calendar to do social media pushes once weekly. I've been doing that since we started on the 16th. So it's Thursday this week. I'll do another social media push, and then again 2 days beforehand. I think we can fill those spots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to spend, we have 17 spots remaining. I don't want anybody to spend too much of their energy doing a phone interview, which is kind of a small audience considering, well, it's just like how much airtime is it really going to get? How many people?
The idea with WEMU is they have an Issues of the Environment program, and it really would be a great promotion for the work we're doing as the subcommittee, with the kind of entree point being this hike. You start out with the hike, and then it's like, by the way. So that was sort of the idea of just kind of morphing that into general publicity, even though
that's a good point.
Sell out the hike.
Okay.
Marissa, are you doing Nextdoor also? Are you posting on Nextdoor?
No, I am not.
Okay.
But you're welcome to.
Yeah, I'll post on Nextdoor. And
you have the original flyer that Christina sent?
You know what? Could someone send it? Is it on the Google Drive?
It is.
Okay.
Like, I pulled individual images out of that for some of the stuff.
Okay. Let me just take a peek.
I don't know if it's worth putting out some more flyers in some of the more obvious places. Possibly. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of think we're going to fill it up, because really it's still 2 weeks away, or 3 weeks away, really.
Yeah.
And people make their plans, and, you can also see what the weather's going to be.
Well, and if any of us want to plan on going, or our spouses, at some point we're going to have to sign up too.
And but that's another thing, Tallulah, is who of us are going to staff this event, like be there to welcome people,
Yeah.
you know, tell them, kind of do introductions.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if we had any information at all we could share about the Land Preservation Committee,
Yeah.
just to hand them, that
Yeah.
would be, that's why we're doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
About that.
So, you know, if somebody's coming for a hike, like Marissa, you signed up, I don't know if you'd want to kind of do the welcoming committee at that hike, and then we could divide it up and, I mean, just divide and conquer who can be there for what hikes, and kind of maybe a couple people to, you know, just give the welcome and the
I mean, I thought Julie and I were going to do it because we were going to be there already for the middle session.
Yeah, I don't know that we officially said that to Lula, but
Yeah.
I think we can do it.
but are you going to be there all day or?
Yeah, I'll be there all day.
Okay.
Or most of the day, or something.
I was planning on attending the first one and sticking around for the
Okay.
second one and sending my family home. So I'll be
Okay.
there too, whatever you need.
Sounds like we're covered then. Do we have any materials that we can hand out? Do we have any just like little, here's
Okay.
land preservation. This is who we are. This is what we do. Thanks for coming.
Well, I mean, I thought that was going to be included in, you know, our intro, and that we were going to finish with just a 5, you know, questionnaire. I mean, we're going to have everyone's contact information. We could tell people I mean, I don't know if we have a paper.
We could send them a survey. Maybe that's better, so we're not like having,
I'm sorry. How am I
working dog. So that we're not having a lot of paper out there, we could just follow up with information and thank them for coming, and that's probably an easier way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will, Marissa, I will put if we want to record that, I will put the stuff on Nextdoor, both for Northfield and our regional team too.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I don't know whose dog that is because I'm not looking at you guys. I'm taking notes.
I'm sorry.
Is it your dog? Whose dog is it?
My dog.
Give a mute.
Who's
Can
taking
you mute yourself while your dog
credit
is
for the
barking,
for the
Julia? I
barking
really
dog?
can't hear anybody.
I muted myself, didn't I?
No, we can hear you. There.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to take notes and listen, and I can't. I'm like, I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, so you were saying, you asked me a direct question.
I can't think. I can't. But I think Julie and I are, you know, I don't even know what point we're talking about now. I feel like we're talking about a bunch of stuff at the same time. She's going to hand up again.
Well, it seems.
Well, we were talking about a survey and that we would just send
Yeah.
people a link to a survey afterward and ask them to participate. And then maybe just an email that says, thank you for joining the Land Preservation Committee hike. Here's more information about the Land Preservation Committee, a link, and then ask them to take part in the survey.
Yeah,
That's easy.
yeah.
So somebody's got to print that up and have it on hand. And it's not like we need a whole bunch of them. So I guess we just go do that.
No, we're going to email
somebody's gotta be
people
in
after
charge.
We're
the
going to
hike.
email people.
Oh, really? We're not going to have anything to pass out to them?
I would
We're
rather
going to
not
be
pass
green,
out-
David.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not
All right.
passing out paper.
Yes. Yes.
If I may
If
share-
someone wants a paper, I'll get their address and I will deliver them a paper.
Yeah. We can get their
Okay.
mailing addresses too. And we do have our
Julia?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, here's the thing. Sean Severance said she was planning a handout that would show, let's say, the plants or the trees or whatever it is that we're likely to see. And, you know, she'll base that, I'm sure, on her preliminary walk. So I thought our one idea that we had a while back was we would put, if her thing is one side of one sheet, maybe we could put our LPC information on the other side of the sheet. And therefore we have, you know, they'll have a take home that gives them some information about what they saw. And we can, she said, I mean, I spoke to her about this. She said we could add anything to it we wanted to. So that might be
Okay.
just,
Well, that's easy.
yeah. And I'm sure we can do it. We can cook it up more or less at the last minute or whatever once she's got something, then we can tag on to what she's got.
Okay. Well, we'll have to figure out what we wanted to say.
Yeah.
Can you contact her this week, Julia, so we can get that? Because we've only got,
The mission
a
statement.
few
and
weeks, and
contact
if we
information.
need,
Right. I will. I'll contact her.
yeah, so we can proof it and kind of get it run off at the township.
I don't think she'll know until she goes on her preliminary.
Yeah, so maybe we need a subcommittee meeting with the three of us to talk about what we're going to put on the back, or if one of us wants to take the lead, but we don't have to wait for her to do that part.
That part we can do, right?
I can't be included in that, can I? So I will email you all a direct link to a newsletter that we put out last year that looked nice visually, and also had like some basic information that I'm sure that you can use something from.
That's
okay.
So
That's great.
Okay.
that'd be a good place to start.
So shall our subcommittee plan a meeting, just the three of us then?
Yeah.
Maybe later this week or something.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Do you guys want to do another one on Saturday, or is Saturdays not good for you?
Doesn't matter to me.
Saturday at 9?
Which Saturday? This Saturday?
This coming? Yeah.
I can do this coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how about we'll prepare for it ahead of time. We'll each just, jot some down ideas, or, what we think it should say. And then we'll get together and talk about it on Saturday. At
So
9.
we're composing a copy. I'm sorry. Is it the survey or the promotional?
Well, I guess we should talk about both the survey and what we're going to have on the back, because maybe we'll have the survey information on the back, like a link, or, or maybe we will do a survey in the parking lot. We can talk about it then.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Okay. Do you want me to send or do you have the Zoom link, or do you want me to send a meeting invite?
You can send one if you want.
Okay. I'll do that. 9:00 Saturday for
Yeah.
the three of us. Okay.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions about the hike, or would like to say anything else about the hike at this point? Lenore?
I just want to thank Marissa for her idea of looking at the newsletter that we sent out. I was going to mention that as well. Good idea. I think there's good information there. Thank you. That should help.
I'm always impressed with Marissa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and the subcommittee. Good job. Good job. I want to have this thing filled up with people, but like I think maybe Tallulah or Christina said, once we sign up ourselves, I don't want to shut other people out from being able to go. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to fill it up.
Yeah, I think I can quite a few people at the last.
Right. I haven't done a job of trying to get a bunch of friends to show up yet, because I simply don't want to overcrowd it.
Right.
But that's the goal, is to get everybody to show up and fill up the three walks. Okay, so if we're done with that, should we move on to item number 2, new officer elections? Marissa,
I would like to motion to move this to a later date.
okay.
I'll support.
I'll support.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, I think it would be good, and people think about where they can help or where their expertise is, and maybe we can have some transition, and we have more people that are knowledgeable about the different positions. So I'd ask people to consider what position they would like to be, and it's no disrespect for the people that have the current position. They might just be a little burnt out.
I wanted to add, this also allows us to discuss this, right? Like making a motion on it.
Right.
I just think that we need some more time to perhaps discuss. We've got a new member joining. I just think that right now we're in a good place where a big change right now might not be the best thing, but in a couple of maybe revisit in 2 months from now, I think would be a good time to have our election. I know we're looking to, I think there in our draft bylaws, there were 4 positions. Is that correct, David?
Yeah, and I'm curious what's the status on the draft bylaws that are supposed to be coming back from the attorney, because it'd be a kind of an exercise in futility if we went through this whole process and then appointed people to jobs that we couldn't even, according to the bylaws, even do. So, and I just wanted to add that, in fact, I'm completely open to having a review and possible changes ongoing with the committee. I'm not, I don't have any ego involved in being the chair here, other than telling all my people, well, I happen to be the chair. No, but if anybody else would like to do it, please step up. That's all I'd have to say. And yeah, let's talk about it and bring it back at a later date, since we're tied up doing a lot of stuff right now. I'm all for
then
that.
we would have to do a vote on that, a vote to postpone.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we have so many qualified people that I'm excited about anything anybody wants to do in a particular position here. I'm sure we can all pull together as a team no matter what. So all in favor of postponing this to a later date, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Marissa, will count on you to bring it back to the board.
Bring it back around.
Marissa. Next item, number 3, discuss the 2021 budget. So, Lenore, you kind of got put on the spot at the last board meeting, unjustly, and we're forced to have a discussion about the budget, which wasn't really, which you handled very well. But I was curious if you wanted to weigh in on this.
Well, sure. We were asked to detail a budget, which we did, and last meeting we had a budget discussion on it, and the board has said they do not want to extend our expenditures above $7,500. They are not and will not approve us doing a survey. So the budget committee, I would go back, and we need to be within the $7,500 budget, and a survey is not going to be supported by the board. They said basically that if we wanted to find out if people would be willing to pay for land preservation, put a millage. And that's how we'll find out, and that a survey was not needed. So I think it was a good discussion because we achieved our objective of taking it to the board and getting their comments, and now we know what the board would like us to do.
Christina?
So I'm not quite sure why we have a land preservation committee if the board has allowed the creation of this committee, yet does not support the ideas and the direction that the committee wants to go.
I think I would ask that you ask different board members their position on that. I can't speak for them. So I would reach out to the different ones.
I just wondered if there was some, because I'm new to, boards of this type, and if there's some additional oversight that they have that they, have to approve every decision of the committee, or is it, I'm just curious. I've never been on a committee where you've recommended something, you've assembled people that have worked on an issue, and then it's dismissed.
Do you want me to answer that, or do you want to take Marissa? How do you want to proceed?
Well, I appreciate those comments. Marissa, did you want to jump in there and add something?
Well, I think as a new member, something that I didn't understand when I started that I learned along the way was that when the Land Preservation Committee was originated in 2017, it was under the stipulation that it wasn't funded, and its job was to explore land preservation options. I think it has evolved over time, and many of the board members do express support for land preservation during their campaigning. So I think that as we've progressed from finding the opportunities to being able to implement them, I think the budget should as well. But that did help me understand why we're fighting so hard for budgeting.
I would like to say something also. I don't know that the board is against preservation at all. I think there are some members that are more enthusiastic about it than others. And we've also been given the message that we have a budget and we can spend our money for community outreach and education. That message has also been sent through loud and clear. So I'm not even quite sure that the idea of a survey was it voted on, Lenore, by the board? Because I believe that we did have one trustee who said that surveys could be used improperly or be biased or quote weaponized, whatever that means in this context. I'm not sure, but I think that it's a mixed message at this point, which requires a discussion. And I'm used to political second guessing. Everybody thinks slightly differently about issues, and certain board members are more involved in the minutia than others. Instead of simply saying, here's the budget for the Land Preservation Committee, here's their mission, and they can spend their money as they wish. We definitely report to the board. We're not a deciding commission, and we make recommendations to the board. That's what we do. I think if we wanted to go out and do a survey right now, we could. I just don't know that it's the smartest thing. And I know that there's a lot of support on the board for land preservation, which represents a priority of our community, even though we do get some pushback from some members. That's all. So feel good about the work we're doing. It's supported by the majority of the board. Lenore?
So I'll follow up on that. As David has mentioned, we are a recommending body, meaning we make recommendations. And I don't know if body is the right, we are a recommending committee. They have, and you're right, we could go back and ask about the survey. There was not a vote, but I will guarantee that $7,500 is our budget, with a vote or not. I personally do not think the survey, and that's just my personal feeling, that the survey will be approved. But the budget is $7,500, and once we get the budget approved, meaning how we want to spend it through this process, then they're not going to say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this. This is the process where we get the buy-in from the board on our mission and our desires and make sure it meets their mission and their desire in that regards. So it's pretty clear, $7,500 is the budget. I can't say it's so clear that not all the board members would vote for a survey or not. My initial is that we will not get a survey approved. And once we get our $7,500 and we indicate how we're going to spend it, then we are, able to spend it without keep coming back to the board. But this is the process where we get agreement and buy-in from the board on what we would like to do with the $7,500.
Marissa?
A clarifying question for Lenore. So I just want to make sure that I understand. So the next step should be that we should take the feedback from the board and issue another budget request?
Yes.
Are you sure? But I felt like,
because
it was like offensive that we submitted a budget request is how I interpreted it.
Well, my understanding is the request is that we come with a budget. I'm waiting for the Parks and Rec to come with a budget, just like we are reviewing the general fund. We will review the police. So I can check with some of my other colleagues about it, but my understanding is we should come back with a budget with $7,500. My recommendation is we do not put a survey on it.
Thank you.
And I will submit it again, and certainly I have a meeting with Nate on a different subject on Wednesday, and I can just make sure, and a meeting with Ken, and just make sure with the three of us that we understand it and try to get the fourth that we are in agreement. There did seem to be some confusion on the process. I thought we had the process of make the request, tell them how we're going to spend it.
My concern was the process.
And they say yay or nay, and they said nay on the amount, and basically the feedback was they didn't like the survey. So I'd say take it out, 7,500. Tell them how we're going to spend it, and I think we'll include it in the next budget round, and we'll see if we still get the process right. If not, I will have someone write it out for me. What's the process?
That would be great if there was actually a process.
Right. I think this is the process, and I'm not sure where that came from, but I'll mention it with our meeting with Nate and our Mr. Moko and our supervisor, Mr. Dignan, on Wednesday, just to make sure we are following a process.
All right. So we've got a very good idea of what the next steps are for the budget, and we are going to, the budget subcommittee is going to alter the application for our budget and the outline of how it's going to be spent independently. I mean, they're not going to bring it back to us. Do we have time? Yeah, you could bring it back to us, and we could, as a committee, say, okay, here's our $7,500, how we're going to spend it, and then have that delivered to the board in time for the adoption of the budget, correct?
I would say that that's unnecessary, since we already agreed on the things, and then the board just pretty much told, I mean, once you remove the $5,000, we're within like dollars of the 75.
All right, never mind. Then we're good.
So I just don't think that maybe is necessary, since the board already approved it, its original. We're just going to have to move some money from column to column, I think.
All right.
But my next question, just to clarify, so we know when we're doing, do you know when the next budget draft is going to, or when the next time the budget's going to be discussed?
We have been discussing it at the second meeting of the month. And so, what is that, the 25th or something?
Yeah, that's the, let's see. There's
25th is right, yes.
25th. So it will actually be due on the 18th.
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good. Christina.
I just have a question. So if we are not going to do the survey, and as the Land Preservation Committee, we decide that we want to prepare for a millage or communications plan, is that another subcommittee, or what are our next steps to, because that's now going to be part of the budget. So I think having a plan around what we do with that, or what, our communications, what we want our messaging to be, what our goals are with the millage. Is that a subcommittee? I'm just trying to figure out how that process works.
Well, I kind of wanted to, I agree it's part of the budget considerations possibly. But the next item on our agenda is to discuss the survey, which we're almost done doing. And I think that we could discuss the next steps in terms of the next steps being possibly a millage as part of that item number 4 on our agenda. Would that work? Okay, then let's move to item number 4, since we know what we're going to do with the budget at this point. I wanted to start this by saying I share Christina's frustration. I thought that the idea of a survey has been mentioned at our meetings for months, and it's been part of our minutes. And if there was serious problems at the board level with us doing this, I would have hoped that we would have gotten some feedback prior to Christina putting in a bunch of work and me putting in a bunch of work to try to line up corporations that would work with us, survey companies and the University of Michigan. And we did a lot of outreach to put this thing together, only to find out after we've done the work that, never mind, we're not interested in that, don't do it. So I share Christina's frustration, and I'd like to avoid, having us go down work avenues that wind up being dead ends. That's the way I wanted to start, because Christina has a bid for the $5,000 from a very legitimate company that's in the packet that you saw from a company called Opinion Research. And I have a contact with the University of Michigan with one of their schools that seems like it would be a perfect fit for us. And I'm thinking possibly to continue to talk with them about how we could interact. I'm not sure there'd be a problem with the board if we did this and it didn't cost anything, for instance. So in your discussions with other members of the board, Lenore, perhaps you could ask whether they'd have an issue with us putting out a survey that didn't cost them anything. If that's worth pursuing. Because
I will ask that. I will ask. Well, obviously it's 4 votes one way or the other. So.
Yeah, and try to assure some people that weaponization is not something we're actively pursuing.
Right, we're just trying to get facts so that we can make better decisions.
Right, which is our assignment from the board is to collect information and bring it to the board.
This should be a professional survey. I think you have to emphasize that it would be if whoever conducts it, it's not just sending out a postcard saying, do you like land preservation? But it would be professionally drafted and worded in a neutral fashion.
Right.
And go to, I think we were talking about all registered voters or all households, but it sounds like a different kind of survey. A really good neutral survey is different from anything we've had in the past, I think.
Chris, Marissa, I think you had your hand up first and then Christina.
I just wanted to add that I was at the meet. I was listening to the meeting, and it's going to be a really long shot in the dark for us to get a survey at this point. If it's free, that might be a different story altogether. But really, the climate was quite clear that the board was not. I don't think we could get 4 votes for a survey. Furthermore, though, something that hasn't really been touched on is that Janet Chick did mention, like, if you want to know if people support land preservation, just put it on the ballot. So that was basically, and I didn't hear any strong objections to that. Now that's just the comment of one board member, but it was very encouraging. I think that our next step should be to poll board members and see how they feel about it getting on the ballot. Whether or not they support it once it's on the ballot, that's their own choice as a voter. But I think that most people would agree that the best thing you can do is give it to the people. But then it becomes, do we need a survey to determine that number of how much are you willing to pay, which is, I think, what we're really after. Like, we know people support land preservation. How much do you support it? So I think that we are going to have to explore less scientific, more inexpensive ways to come up with that number than a formal professional survey.
Very good point. Very good point. Christina?
Well, if we are doing, and I know this is very small outreach with the hike and these follow-up surveys, maybe we can start to ask some of those questions in a more informal way. I know it's not a professional survey, and trust me, having attempted to do surveys in the past, I realize how complex they are. But maybe we can include a few questions that can help us get at this information that we're trying to suss out about the level of what kind of a millage people might support through our follow-up surveys with the folks who've come to the hike, and then start there. And if we do other things, start to collect some information that way and have a consistent set of questions that we ask related to the millage whenever we have that opportunity. The second thing that I think that I wanted to go back to is, we put together, looking at the communications goals and objectives for our committee. And I think kind of going back to these and using these as our guidelines, because they're a pretty good roadmap for us. Our goal 1, preserve farmland and natural areas in Northfield Township. And so we have our action steps of, getting the development rights ordinance passed, which we're working on, the inventory of farmland. So I think if we can continue to go back to this and make sure that we're on the right track, we're continuing on this road of these action steps. I think this will help us get to the point where we can be successful with a millage. Although I'm not sure, I'm looking at do we have the millage on here? Raise funds to support.
It is like a millage or something.
Yeah, I'm just skimming it, so I'm not and I'm not reading very well right now.
Yeah.
But just kind of using this as a guideline and make sure we kind of keep coming back to this so that we're heading in a direction consistently.
Yeah, I support that. Like one of the things I was thinking about earlier today is that one of the things we talked about a couple meetings back was writing follow-up letters. Like I can't remember that guy's name that, has been helping acquire all this land, but then there's follow-up letters we should be working towards and trying to get more nibbles or getting, touching back. So I think that, that goes in line with what our core principles were, our mission. And, I think that's one of the things I saw that we were kind of dropped to the wayside, what's really important for, getting the land.
I actually had a discussion with Barry Lonick because I have a list of the largest landowners who were initially contacted and who expressed an interest, but then didn't pursue it. So we've got probably 18 of those. And then we've got the 3 properties that were contacted, that made an application and were given offers, but then turned them down. So I talked to Barry about this, and he said he would work out a script for us to use when we contacted them. And I was going to make a recommendation at the end of the meeting regarding how we should create a subcommittee to pursue these folks, because basically there's just a few questions to ask. What's the right price to those 3 people that weren't willing to go through with it? We need to have some hard figures on, is it realistic to expect anything from them? And a few questions for the folks that's expressed an interest, like, why didn't you pursue it? And I've got the whole list of the folks and their contact information. So we should definitely do something about that. You're right, Tallulah. We kind of dropped the ball on that one, and that's something we could actually get accomplished and maybe find a few more folks.
Well, and maybe not just the letters, but maybe we can try to do something more personable, like, meeting with them in person or having some type of event where we invite smaller groups of them to some of our, I don't know, this crazy, like out there wild idea, but we invite them to one of our other tracks and let them know how it's going and what the plans are, and kind of like, help create a picture of, what they'd be in for and how it impacts the community instead of just a piece of paper, that they'll just look at and toss aside probably. I don't know what kind of event or, meeting, but I think it'd be nicer if we could somehow get in front of them, or somebody can, instead of just a note.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea. It's a great idea. So speaking of maybe doing a survey and finding out if in fact, if it didn't cost anything, whether that's worth pursuing would be one step. But then if we pivot and we take the comment from Trustee Chick about if you want to know if the community is in favor of it, do a millage. Do we pivot to that and use that as an opportunity? Because this is a document put out by the Huron River Watershed Council, and it's a step-by-step, quite involved toolkit that was used by the communities that got millages passed. And even though some of them were had boards of trustees that were quite skeptical that anything would pass, like in Scioto Township, they got something like a 70% yes. And every millage that did pass, the 4 of them that passed in our county, all passed with between 65 and 75% approval. So I would like to get it on the ballot at some point, and I think we should maybe take our survey committee and subcommittee and turn it into a survey/millage subcommittee, Christina. Since I don't think we even created a survey committee, it was kind of ad hoc, and we started talking about it.
I think a millage subcommittee and just, formalizing that process and that looks like a great resource. Yeah, I think we should do that. And I think that a supporting group would be what Tallulah was just suggesting, of formalizing that process of outreach to landowners and, getting plan behind that and some structure behind it, and getting that rolling again. And I think if the two of these could be happening at the same time, it's anything we can do to increase the visibility of the work that we're doing, to promote our successes, to talk about what has happened with land preservation, maybe even cite some other or other nearby communities and show what this progress means or what it means in people's lives. It just incorporate that into all that we're doing. So I think this millage subcommittee could be pretty extensive, and is going to probably include a lot of communications, because that's going to be really key to getting a millage passed.
Absolutely. Julia.
I actually helped the Huron River Watershed Council with that. I sort of edited it with Chris Olson with that document on
cool.
How to get a millage done. And I think it's very solid, very carefully researched, has a ton of information in it. I would recommend it to everybody. And it's available. Each of us can have, any of you can have a copy of it. I guess it's kind of a booklet, isn't it? Or it's all online. I'm not sure how it is now. But in any case, this is something I do not wish to be involved with. So I'm only spouting off right now to say that I'm sure that book, that document says you must start 18 months in advance. And if we're looking at an election, a millage for November of 2022, I think that means right now.
Yeah.
So I would urge you, honestly, I mean, if you're going to take it seriously, it has to start. And it definitely starts with outreach and a lot of community communication to try to get people organized to understand the issues and understand what's involved all the way through. What the millage and honestly, it's really confusing. If somebody says, okay, what is this deal? I mean, what is land conservation and how does it work? And it's not simple. It's not a simple, you do this, you get that kind of thing. So I would urge you, whoever's going to work on this, start and also look at that document, and you'll see it outlines. I believe it's true that is it Webster and SIO and maybe Dexter used it also.
I wouldn't be surprised. I will reach out to Chris Olson to see if I can get some additional copies of the toolkit.
Or a link would be great.
I can email it. It's easy. It's on there. It's public.
She had a grant to do this. It's been one of her big projects, and it's a serious thing.
So
I'll volunteer for the subcommittee.
Before we start, can I say my comment before we start making subcommittees?
Yeah.
Because I hear all sorts of great ideas and I love great ideas, but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I almost think that we need to have a whole group discussion about where the priorities are and where how those subcommittees are going to be created, because I currently can't take on too much more. But if a few things came off my plate, I could, like a few things that we're currently working on. You know what I mean? So maybe having a discussion about how we refocus and reprioritize our goals and our resources also including people, because it's a lot of work. And if we just say, we're going to do that, nothing's really going to get done if we're trying to do too many things. So that's my 2 cents about that. And I will.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I think let's start a subcommittee to bring up priorities again, to look at the subcommittees we already
have. Like the goal and budget committee, right?
The redundancy department of redundancy. Yes. No, that's an excellent point. Yeah, we don't want to take chew off too much and get scattered in terms of.
I already feel scattered, just to throw that out there. Like I feel like we got our hands in a lot of pies. So just being honest. So
I think that's
I'm sorry, Lenore, go ahead. I was looking down.
No, that's fine. I think that's a very good idea. I think we should outline everything we're working on, who's working on it, what else we want to be working on. And I don't know, Chair, maybe you could work with the committees to get that to us for our next meeting, and we can look at it and assess. Just as I hate to, Ms. President has good ideals, and so that we can assess that and really prioritize and focus on one or two things, maybe three at the most. And that's what I would recommend, just as she does, with you driving it, Mr. Chair, as far as getting all that data together, and so that we can have a very good discussion at our next meeting and basically reprioritize or prioritize or keep the priorities of what we're currently working on, and then assign appropriate items.
I like that idea.
I've got my red pen here.
Might I suggest just having everybody email you what they're working on and possibly any of the new things we talked about tonight, if there's something you're super passionate about?
Yeah.
Like what are you currently working on? What are you best at? What is there something you really want to get involved in, or something that you got involved in that you don't like? And then we can have that just all in out discussion at the next meeting and try and realign our resources more appropriately.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Great idea. Yeah, please send me something, and then I'll collect it all and put it into a document that we get early enough so that we can all look at it before our next meeting and think about it. Refocus. Absolutely.
And maybe we can take those goals and just update or modify this communications plan, or I just think this is a good, like, high level roadmap, but I put it together still being very new to the committee. So I think it could definitely use some revision. And I think if we can just use the framework and with what everybody's going to contribute, really reprioritize and make sure that we're picking out the whatever two things or the major things we want to work on. It's going to make it easier.
Christine, are you looking at the communication plan?
Yeah, it's on the.
I have also created, it's under project management in our drive. It's called Action Items Tracker, and it's got all of our goals with the objectives, the subcommittee, and the specific action items that we last discussed and we're working on. So this is what I go off of when we.
Okay.
And there's also if you forgot what subcommittees you are, any of them that have been finalized are on the last tab of that as well.
And maybe this is easier. I don't really care which tool we use. Just
they're different things, I think. I believe that they're different.
Yeah, because the ones I have has like goal, and then what are your steps to achieve the goal?
I see. It's just a spreadsheet version.
Pretty similar. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And like I said, I don't have any particular preference for one or the other. It's just what tool are we using to keep ourselves on track? So like you said, like Tulili, you brought up that we had some great ideas and those sort of fell off the radar, and this will help us keep the key things we want to accomplish in front of us.
That's great. I think I'm going to go take a look at that, the action item tracker. I hadn't looked at that.
So who are we supposed to email? I'm sorry, with our
email me with your updates on the committees and anything that you're particularly passionate about, or how any thoughts you have on refocusing the direction of the Land Preservation Committee and the various tasks that we're involved in at this point. All right, that's great. And I will, let's move on to item 5, which we've actually kind of slid into anyway, which is subcommittees and outreach, communication plan, goals and budget. I don't really have anything to add there that hasn't already been brought up, but anybody else want to jump in and say something here?
Of these three, I'm on all of these committees, I think, or at least I was working with the communication plan committee at one point. The goal and budget committee is the only one I did any work with between the last meeting and this meeting. And that was just getting together the budget request. Otherwise, everything is the same as it was at the last meeting.
I do have a note from the last from the last set of minutes that I was looking at about outreach to the schools. Has anything happened with that? I think that was. Tallulah, you said you were awaiting email responses from your contacts at the schools. Did anybody get back to you?
No, but you know what I was thinking? I didn't mention it to Marissa yet, that because we have public email accounts in their school, that they may just go to, some junk or some type of spam folder because we're not in the school system. So you might need to try to reach out to them a different way.
Okay. Yeah, I think what's so complicated about our position is we have a lot of subcommittees, but there's so much crossover between the different committees. Their actions impact each other, and so I think some more time trying to understand those connections and refocus, like we've said many times just now in the last half hour, is going to be an important exercise for us, productive exercise. Yes, Marissa?
Well, we're limited, right, with the subcommittee actions because we assume that they are not going to be open meetings. But if we need 5 people on a subcommittee, we can request that an open meeting be created and have an open meeting. If more than 3 of us need to get together at any time, that's an option. We can have a special meeting anytime. I think you need 24 hours notice?
18, I believe.
I think it's 18.
Oh, I mean, even still, like if we knew that we needed, if we know
Right.
that we're going to need an extra meeting, why not just schedule one for 2 weeks? Or, just so that if we need it, we need it.
Right.
Because I think that's a lot of the problems too, is a lot of times it takes 3 or 4 of us for some of these subcommittees are big jobs.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good point. Good point. Lenore?
So it may be, depending on when we reconfigure and do our goals, maybe meeting once a month is not sufficient.
Yeah.
We may want to consider meeting twice a month to accomplish some of these tasks. Or as Marissa said, if need be, that we schedule meetings. We can call them working meetings, but still, if we need more than 3, then that we just notify the public that we're going to be meeting to discuss things. So I think they're both avenues that we might want to have a second meeting of the month, or just put in our notes ad hoc that because of what we're doing and working on, that we are going to be calling working meetings throughout the month. Stay tuned. We'll make sure we do it according to the Opens Meeting Act. But, this once a month thing isn't really getting us to accomplish our goals.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. All right. I will try to get back to everybody within 2 weeks with everybody's comments that you've sent to me and organize them all into a document that we can all discuss. And maybe even at that point, it might make sense to call a meeting so we don't have to wait till the beginning of June. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to item 6, establish a process for email sent to Northfield Township LPC at Gmail is item number 6 on our agenda.
I have never received emails there before. We've had it for a while now. I've only used it as a calendar. And then recently to send out the press release that the hike subcommittee sent. And somebody, a citizen, emailed us towards the beginning of the month. I enclosed the email and it was about the chestnut development. Now, I could have, my gut was like, just respond and tell him to forward it to the Planning Commission. But he was specifically addressing the Land Preservation Committee, so I didn't want to do that. I also didn't want to speak on behalf of the committee on this issue, so I just didn't respond to it. And that makes my skin crawl. So I guess I just want to know, what do you think we should do with emails that we get that, well, somebody else emailed, for example, and asked, how do I sign up for your nature hike? And I sent them a link, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question is, what should we do with these emails?
I guess we need a subcommittee meeting. I don't know. I just would just say thank you for expressing your, your concern that, the land, and then just say the Land Preservation Committee focuses on this, and,
should I just say, I don't want to have to create, that's the thing is I don't want to have the autonomy to just create a response every time somebody emails me about something different. So should we just say like, thank you for your correspondence. It will be included at our next meeting.
That's a good start.
Yes.
That's what we
Absolutely.
should do. Okay.
Yes.
And then we'll get back to you. Lenore, you had your hand up, and then Christina.
In addition to that, Marissa, I like that. Typically when I get an email from members of the public, I thank them for the response, and I know their correspondence is going to go into the next board packet. And I think the same here, in that it will be, and if we think we need to take any action on it, then we could. And in addition to that, though, Marissa, you had said, like, if they're asking for a link or something, I have no issue with you giving them, something that's readily available, no personal comment or board or a member comment type of thing. It's just factual. Here it is. You can find the link here. I think that's very helpful, and that if you would, take on that task like you have in the past, that would be very good for the residents or whoever's asking for it. As far as other comments, just say thank you for a comment. It'll be in correspondence at the next LPC meeting.
Right. And if it's something that you think that shouldn't wait for a month, potentially, nobody wants to say, we'll get back to you next month about this.
I didn't see it until like the 20th. So at that point I was like, oh, well.
Well, how do we get it? I'm sorry, Marissa. I'm sorry, Christina.
One of the things that I do, because I get emails from folks like donations at work, and I have a little boilerplate that I set up that is super helpful. So I'm not having to think and compose a response to every every donor. So I have a boilerplate. So if we could do kind of the same thing. Oh, if they have an inquiry about one thing, you have standard language that you use for that. And maybe there's 3 standard types of inquiries that you might get. And we could look at them, and you could modify them slightly, but just have boilerplate language you could use so that you don't have to come up with something. And this is something we've all looked at and said, yeah, that looks pretty good. And you don't feel like the onus is on you to speak for the entire committee. It's just a standard response to maybe 3 types of email you might get. It's one idea.
That seems like a good idea. Can you present that or send that to post that to the drive so we could, and let us know that it's there so we could look at it? It'd just be better to send it to Marissa, and you would.
Well, it's I'd have to set up a Google Doc.
I can create something if it's, literally.
I've got a framework. I'm just trying to think of how to pivot that, because it could be, let me think about it, because it's for work, for donations that we receive. So, you could see that sort of template that I use.
I'm familiar with auto response,
Yeah. But it's boilerplate language. So here's the topic, and here are 3 responses. You set up the other Google spreadsheet. So, you're organized in how you do things. So, it could be as simple as that. Oh, topic, interest in the LPC, or, something, and just put some standard language in it.
Yeah, I can do that. I can bring something to the next meeting. I'll put it in the Google Drive and share it with you guys.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Marissa.
I just wanted to get it never had happened. It hadn't been relevant up to this point. So I just wanted you all to know I did not take it upon myself to reply on behalf of the group, but I will reply to this gentleman now with I'll actually let him know that we reviewed his correspondence at tonight's meeting. So
when somebody writes to that email address, it pops up where on your computer? How do you even see it?
It's an email box I have to check, which I didn't until I actually sent email from it, which was for the first time a few weeks ago. But there is a link. The reason that people have it out there is because there is on our website where on the page, the committee members page where all of our pictures are, at the bottom it says, don't know where to send an email. There's a shared monitored email box here. And that's the first email I've ever gotten there, but I did get one from someone in the public. Or maybe we just remove it from there. I mean, whatever, and that way they have to email individual committee members.
Can you have it forwarded to your, so it just pops up in your inbox, Marissa, so you don't have to check it? Or
Well, I check it anyway because I'm always in and out of the different accounts for the drive.
Yeah. And if we're doing more work on, trying to get moving toward a millage, I think we're going to be using that email address more and more if we're trying to get interaction generated with people. So, I think we may have more traffic on that.
Yeah, well, I also, there's a resource and training folder that has the login and password for all of it. So you all are welcome to go in and look at the emails. Or, anybody else is welcome to help out with that if they'd like. It's not my email, it's our email. I've just been monitoring it, but if anyone else wants to, that's fine too.
Like you said, it'd be good to have a process in place so that so that it gets done and somebody could help you with it. If you could say, I'm done with this, I don't want to do this anymore, you can just hand it off to someone else.
As of right now, it's fine. Like I said, this was just the first time that it came up to me where I recognize that I should not just be replying on behalf of the group to a private citizen. So, and I also recognize that sending somebody a link to register was absolutely fine. So I don't think there's a huge need here,
Okay.
But just knowing that you guys will receive it as correspondence at each meeting, I'm fine with that if everybody else is fine with that. If you want me to forward them when I receive them, I can do that too, but we shouldn't be responding as individuals.
Correct.
Right, that should be part of the process. Lenore, you wanted to say something?
So I think either you make a good point, Marissa, either we take it out or we leave it. And if we leave it, it would be just a generic response of, hey, we received your email. We are going to put it in correspondence at our next meeting. Or like you said, if you can send them a link that is, no personal interjection, no, comment, basically, it's just, here it is. We're doing you a service. That's fine. So I think you have the right approach of, thank you for your email.
That can be our policy.
What was that?
I'll put into a document, we can vote on it, and it can be our policy.
Yep, right. We can, just something simple. Yes, sending links, good. Any data that's available, perfect. But I just think it's very simple to say thank you for your email to recognize that we have received it.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I don't like to get into emails, and I don't like to put stuff that much in emails. That's just my personal preference.
Lenore's on the witness protection plan, so she's trying to keep a low profile.
Right. I just, emails, give me a phone call.
All right, let's move on to something very exciting. Judith, are you back with us here? Judith Muldenhauer has sent in an application to be on the Land Preservation Committee, and she'll be probably replacing Julia. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to take a look at her resume. It's impressive, and I think her skill set is one that would be very valuable to us. So I would like to actually make a motion that the Land Preservation Committee forwards the application onto the Board of Trustees for them to vote and put Judith on the Land Preservation Committee. And if I get a second on this, we can have a discussion, and then Judith can weigh in also.
I'll support.
Okay.
Lenore.
Lots of support.
Who got in first?
Take a pick.
Okay.
Whatever you heard first is fine with me.
So Judith, let me turn it over to you. And
before we do that, Mr. Chair, how long is the term and when is it from to?
It'd be immediately until December 31st, 2023, which mimics Julia's current term.
Okay, thank you.
So it would be a motion to recommend Judith's immediate appointment to the LPC for a term expiring on December 31st, 2023 to replace Julia Henshaw.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Madam Secretary.
Thank you for the interruption as well, Mr. Chair.
All right, now Judith, now that you know how long you'd be serving if you're approved
Well, I
by the
thought that
board.
was an important fact.
It is. It's very good. I'm glad you caught it. Thank you, Lenore. Now, Judith, the floor is yours. But you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you for
Different picture.
What's that?
A different picture too.
Yes, I was able to get rid of the Wayne State background. So this is, my studio at the house. Anyhow, yes, I really would look forward to serving with you all. And it was really great to hear the interaction between everybody and to know that I'd be working with people who are so dedicated to land preservation. And I really do look forward to working, especially with issues of communication and design and all that kind of stuff. As you see from my resume and my statement, I am a graphic designer, specialize in information design, and which means I'm really concerned with and focus on helping people find information, understand it, and be able to act on it. And I very much appreciate the goals, the communication goals that I've heard you talk about, and the whole idea of prioritizing things makes a lot of sense for me too. So I would very much be interested in being part of the committee and helping in whatever I can in terms of visual communication and bringing visibility to the issues that are important to the committee and I think that are important to residents of the township.
Fabulous.
Does anyone have any questions about what I've written or provided you with?
I'm just curious if you knit.
Do I knit? No, I don't. I don't. No. I'm sorry. It's one of my flaws. I don't knit.
Well, I was just curious
I don't either.
Because Julia is hiding her knitting down below.
Yes, Julia is
Julia's
a knitter. Yes, she is.
It's beautiful, Julia.
Judith, I think your resume is outstanding, and your skill sets going to really complement and help us. A lot of people have great skill sets on this committee, and
indeed. And for your information, as I mentioned on the CV, I authored a chapter in a book on information design that documented the project that my information design class did with the Huron River Watershed Committee organization, where the students looked at mapping of the site maps that they use. So it was a really great opportunity for my students to experience, being out in the land and working with an organization that deals with issues of land preservation. So I feel like my design work has also been in support of these principles and this sense of stewardship of the land as well.
Great. The only question I have is for Lenore. Is it possible that we can get this onto the next board? We can actually, because their next meeting isn't until the regular meeting is May 11th.
Yes, so yes, I could ask Ken, our supervisor, to put it on because the information is due tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Marissa.
When I send over our board update, I would be happy to send an agenda item request along with Judith's
outstanding. Thank you.
Perfect.
Application, and then they'll have to formally deny us if they don't, because it will have been an actual formal request.
Yep, that would be perfect.
Thank you, Marissa and Lenore and Judith. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith.
So happy to have you, Judith.
Thank you.
I'd like to also, at the time, just say thank you, Julia. I mean, if it does get approved, thank you for your dedication and longest serving member, I think, on the land preservation. And I think we have come a long way, and it's because of dedication like people like you. I look forward to working with Judith as well and her dedication. I think they're a good group of people. We'll miss you, Julia. We welcome you, Judith, if the board approves. I think it will continue to be a good group.
nobody can fill Julia's shoes, but I'll do the best to provide what I can to the
Yeah,
board,
thank
to
you.
the committee.
Yeah,
I would like to second Lenore's comments there, Julia. You've been a foundation of this committee from the very beginning, and I am assuming you're going to stay involved with this in an ad hoc capacity, and we would really appreciate everything you've done and everything that you'll continue to do.
no, well, thank you very much. And I really do think we've accomplished quite a lot. It's been great, with all of you, and you're a great committee. I mean, I can't say I want to stay on. I really don't, as you know. I'm happy to go through May 22nd, when helping with the hike. But I would just say, I guess the only comment I would really make, I think going forward, it looks to me like the big thing is going to be the millage. And I wouldn't fritter away any energy on some of these other things that maybe can wait, because the millage thing is going to be really huge, I think. And it's going to be a lot of work, and it's very important. And whatever else is important about the committee's work, I don't know. I mean, I'd drop the school. For example, I would drop the school thing for now. That's also a lot of work and something we don't really know much about. But good luck. And yes, of course, I will be cheering you on. And if there's something I can do, I'll be helping too. But it'll be great. It'll all, I hope, keep going forward. And thank you all for being very supportive, and thanks for your kind words. I guess maybe I don't have to go to the June meeting. Wow. Anyway.
All right. Number 8, outdoor meeting, Tallulah. I think it's a great idea. I've been thinking about inviting everybody over here to take a walk on what Susie and I call the GW Parkway, which is a path that I maintain as in Gordon Winkowski Parkway, as in George Washington Parkway, because Susie's from DC and she's used to going on the GW Parkway. It's a beautiful time of the year. The flower, wild trees are in flower, and I think that'd be really a fun thing to do. Maybe we could incorporate that if we get together with a meeting, or just do a nice walk together and not discuss business, committee business. But anyway, please to jump in there with this idea on number 8, outdoor meeting concepts.
So I don't know if everyone who's gotten vaccinated has been able to, or if that's personal information that people don't feel comfortable disclosing, but I think most people are getting vaccinated, and if they're choosing not to, then we could, just meet outside. I'm not really sure the best way to take it, but I would really like to start meeting outside if we can. Go ahead, Marissa.
You mean like our meetings, to have our meetings outdoors?
Well, either one. I mean, are we going to do Zoom meetings indefinitely?
We voted at the last meeting to revisit in July, I think.
Okay, we're going to revisit in July.
I don't remember when we said. Or
I didn't remember. Okay.
I am not opposed to it, but I do know that the logistics of having open meetings right now would mean that we had to be in a place that was accessible. Like there's a list of requirements for having an open meeting. So we can't just go meet on David's property outside and have a meeting.
But if we had as intercom, if we had it set up like we do now, we couldn't we? I mean, why not?
There's laws about what do they call them? The blended meetings, having a blended meeting. And if it is a public meeting, it has to be in a public place. If we're attending in person, okay, it has to be available for other people to meet in person.
Okay.
So that's why we voted at the last meeting to continue electronic meetings for the remainder of the year. That's not to say we can't revisit, but meeting outside is
for the remainder of the year
isn't really an option because of the legalities of all meeting.
Okay.
Or maybe you could add something to that. I'm stumbling over it because I'm not super familiar with the OMA laws, but I know about blended meetings are a nightmare, and I know that they have to be in a public place.
Right, and we'd have to look into that. The only place I could possibly think that we could meet potentially outside would be the library pavilion, potentially.
Yeah.
That might qualify as a public place. But you're right, I would have to look into it further because of the ADA requirements as that goes, and we may be able to do it outside if there. That would be the only way, because I'm 99% sure, if not more, that their pavilion is ADA compliant.
Okay, I didn't understand the logistics of this and how much of a nightmare it would be, so sorry. We'll just get together a different time and maybe at David's house, or I don't know.
As long as we don't discuss business, we could all get together socially outdoors, sure.
Right. And meet each other, maybe have a potluck. Wishing Julia well, and
Yeah.
Judith, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good idea.
I'd do that.
There you go.
Oh, now you want to stay. It only takes a potluck.
Yeah, right. Well,
That's very funny.
yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But I mean, that might be something, but I can certainly check to see if we could have it at the library, because I know the library has meetings at the library
Yeah.
for their board meetings.
Well, I appreciate the thought, Tallulah. And we should definitely do something as soon as we can to meet socially. I know that I'm double vaccinated. I don't know anybody my age that hasn't had their vaccines yet, except for some folks that don't believe in them. But I don't think anybody on this committee's of that opinion. I don't know.
Nor does it matter.
I would get together, and I like the idea. Sorry?
I said, nor does it matter, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice. So we need to leave it there.
It's a personal choice. Right. I just want to do what the president tells me to do. I'm always doing what leaders tell me to do. The library pavilion is an excellent idea, Lenore. Anyway, we're done with our agenda except for committee meeting comments.
Call to the public.
Committee member comments.
Call to the public.
Call to the public,
I lost
David.
that. It got stuck in between Judith and call to the public. Yes. Sorry. Is there any member of the public that would like to jump in here and say anything at this time? If so, please raise your hand and Lenore will select you to speak. Going once. Going twice. Lenore, anybody?
No, I don't see anybody raising their hands.
All right. Then we will move along to committee member comments. Anybody like to? Well, here's Nate. I don't know if he wants to jump in here or not. Is he raising his hand? Nate? No. Okay. Very good. Does anyone have any committee member comments that they would like to make?
I do.
Lenore.
So just a thought I have is I think we need to have like a written report or a brief report on some of the items when we talk about them. For example, tonight, I know we've been focusing on the hike, but it would have been kind of good of like any open items that we still remained to just, have and, thoughts on that as opposed to just talking freewheeling. It's okay. Actually, I prefer to have a written report. It could be brief, but I think that will focus us a little more. And I think that would be helpful. It doesn't have to be elaborate. I just think that would be something helpful going forward, is to have a written document other than just speaking. I think it would be helpful. That's my comment. And again, I'd like to thank Julia for her service, all the board members or the committee members. I think we have come a long way, and some people may not see that, but being here, like I see it, and I just think we can continue to have success. So thank you everyone for all your efforts. And welcome Judith, I hope. We'll see what the board does.
I think that's a great recommendation, Lenore. Just having an update, a written update of some sort from a subcommittee if they're on the agenda to be discussed at the meeting, to have that in the packet so that we can all be better prepped for the discussion that's going to take place. Anybody else like to jump in with the board committee comment? I had one. I wanted to ask Lenore if she could reach out to Janet Chick, the representative to the Planning Commission, and find out the status of the work being done by the attorney. Maybe you don't even need to talk to Janet, but you could talk to the attorney and ask what the time frame might be for the purchase and development rights ordinance that.
I do know it was given to the planner. So I can follow up. You're going to put that in board member comments, Marissa, so I know to have action item, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I find that I do find the minutes extremely helpful for to-dos and what need to be done. So I appreciate that, Marissa. So if you put that in there, I did get communication, I think last week, that it has been given. The P.D.R. was, so thank you. I should have probably had that in there. The P.D.R. ordinance was given to the planner.
So you're going to follow up with the planner or with the lawyer, Lenore?
I'm not going to follow up with the lawyer. They don't have a part in this. I will follow up with the planner.
Okay, thank you.
So you're directly going to talk to the planner as opposed to talking to Larry Roman or Janet Chick?
Yes, I'm going to go there first. Yes.
Okay.
Because Janet has told me that it went to the planner.
All right. Because basically what I want to see our group accomplish in terms of small victories is set up the framework so that, if somebody comes in and says, I want to sell my development rights, donate my development rights, we have a very simple process in place with all the ordinances, et cetera, so that can be accomplished. I mean, that's one of the biggest goals we have in addition to the millage.
Right. Well, if I may add, right, Mr. Gordon, was that part of it is that you can't apply for state funds without having that P.D.R. ordinance. Yes,
that as well. And I'd also like to thank Julia for her service again, and you will be missed.
I'll be around, don't worry.
All right. Does anyone else have a comment to make?
I'll mimic everybody else. Hey, Julia, it's been really a pleasure working with you. I'm happy to have gotten to know you. And Judith, I'm looking forward to working with you as well. I hope you like to work.
Yes, I do.
Welcome. That's all.
All right. Seeing no one else raising their hands at this point, it's 7:35, and I will make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Do I have a second?
Support.
Favor?
Yes.
Frozen. Aye. All right. I look forward to your emails.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.